Thanks for deciding to use your daily not thinking about real-world calamity time for this really specific video game opinion. The voice acting in The Outer Worlds is wonderful. What do I mean by that actually? In my humble opinion, the voice actors did a great job filling your space tag team with digital life. For me, Parvati reaches maybe unknown levels of sincerity for a fictional character. The digital non-baseball fanatic presents his space tag team application in such a competent and impressive manner that only fools without a sense for work accomplishment and ability would send him away. The voice acting of this non-French speaking vicar perfectly matches his dismissing face, ready to spit in front of your feet. Even if sad faces did not blow my novelty socks off, the nicely auto-generated lip sync complements the overall convincing performances. Your stat choices matter and open up interesting dialogue options, and your party members will sometimes intervene or have nice banter. But that is not exactly what I wanted to address in this video message to the sad blue planet. It is of course now a part of it. I, however, want to focus on an NPC. One specific, sad, singular NPC out there. Far, far away. Somewhere no workers' rights have gone before. So let's follow an SOS call and space travel to the distressed digital planet of Terra 2, specifically the lovely named town of Roseway, which at first glance could just be cosplaying as the planet from the beginning. Or maybe this is just a sign that my planet blindness starts to kick in. But we should just try to pack our nitpickiness into our space back pockets, because there we have our first Roseway NPC. This tough soldier dude of course wouldn't betray his corporate over-aunties, because he doesn't know the relaxing, and with relaxing we mean completely numbing taste of zero-G brew in combination with a lovingly to a cold Terra-fried Spratzwurst. Spacer's choice. Taste the freedom! So of course, he didn't send a call for help. And that is certainly not because it would be too easy, if it just happened to be the first NPC you poke with your space gun. So, after reciting his wrong, misleading, and even in the biggest font size, quite small ad phrase, he sends you to a supervisor. A scientist named Anton Crane? Anton. Do Americans in space-time name their scientist kids Anton? It's weird that those fictional companies even let fictional workers have names. No hypercapitalism offense, but that's odd. What do I know? But just in case, I mentally prepare myself. I, the de facto technically incompetent authority on the original Destroy All Humans, know where that goes. I probably won't be able to completely scrub the sis and suds out of my ears before I am going to have a bad dream in the midst of anxious half-sleep. But maybe he's the wacky German scientist type that is funny in his over-the-topness. Then I entered his lab. And he's not that old. Then he probably is meant to represent maybe an American man, as much as you can say that, in a world not defined by borders, but literal hypercorporations owning your body. I thought. But then he opened his digital mouth.
Yes. Anton Crane.
Anton. Slightly confused, I asked myself why this character kinda pronounced his first name with a German accent, but his last name with an English one. It's just probably a slightly wonky British accent? But something sounded similar, familiar, in a rare way that my brain couldn't immediately pin the space donkey tail to. With my, by having been a teenager, irreparably strained ears. I tried to sift through the pronunciation details, and then it hit me.
I must apologize if my call diverted you. I may have panicked. Ticket to the good life once my research plays out. Byzantium. Recognition, money, proper facilities. No more uninspired dolts like my associates here. And might you be the sort of person who's, not averse to risking your life, if the pay were right? Hours ago, a group of vicious malcontents fell upon us, shot up our labs and loosed our research subjects, the Raptidons. If those cretins get their hands on my research, well, they'll need not kill me.
The T's, the D's, the S, the F's, weird R's, swallowing endings, occasional British pronunciation of vowels. Okay, TH?
Nice, is it not? Came up with that myself.
Sometimes it does not hit the mark completely, ending up being more of an F than an TH. Even if these things are so minor and irrelevant for the game, the realization grabbed my shoulders and jolted me to the point my brain forced the controller out of my hands for a moment. But in that moment, my weird thought process had already sprang into hyperspace warp drive. This almost random NPC sounded like a type of non-native English speaker some English language media often does not seem to know. Someone who actually still has some pronunciation stuff from English class stuck in a tiny troubling corner of their subconscious, where also that memory of this really embarrassing relay-related PE accident is located. These were horrible times. Besides his slightly theatrical tone, Anton Crane is not as over-the-top as probably your regular fictional native German speaker. Okay, this NPC is a German scientist. A group of people that, according to fiction, make up 70% of all scientists? Somehow? Who bows to anti-hyper-super-mega capitalism? While he is not Werner Herzog filming your teddy bear's funeral. No offense towards Werner Herzog, I don't know him personally or something. There are those slight signs giving away that this is supposed to be a non-native English speaker. Of course, not everybody sounds like Anton here. Evidence A. Me. But some people do. By the way, having a more stereotypical accent may indicate a late language learner. It, however, of course, does not mean that someone is bad or not smart. Okay, like I have a stereotypical accent, and my intellect embarrasses moths. But Albert Einstein wasn't important enough intellectual to have a song by the Korean boy group, logically named The Boys, dedicated to him, and be roastable in the Scientist Hall of Fame, that is the original Destroy All Humans. Note, I will now continue to focus on native German speakers from Germany, because I am not an 8-dimensional space ghost that can know all of humanity's secrets. But some stuff can probably be applied to other non-native English speakers as well. Of course, if you go to a random German, you will maybe hear a heavy accent. Or not. Or they don't even speak English. Or they are not German native speakers to begin with, and their accent in regards to English is completely different, just like probably everywhere else in the non-native English speaking zone. And I am aware that there are bigger problems in this galaxy than varied representation of accents. And I am of course also aware that hopefully most accent teasing is meant as well-meaning fun. And I know this is complaining on a high level. Germany belongs to the influential countries on this doomed planet, after all. And many people are probably aware that it exists and that its inhabitants are not living inside the plot of Iron Sky. Yeah. Additionally, I live in a country where most people and local media speak my native language. Despite it, I can just leave the never-ending danger zone that is English language media and watch a German dubbed version of the next by an almost Monopoly-produced English language franchise movie. Due to that, probably most Germans who don't regularly consume English language media in its original form won't care about the international representation of German speakers anyway. In contrast, someone who maybe has a bit of nice, friendly small talk in a foreign language, or maybe even just a dialect that is considered uncultured or suspicious, may in the very best case get creepily stared at. By the way, intellect is often mainly ascribed to people not considered outsiders. For more information, I highly recommend this video by Khadija Mbo. Sorry that I had to continue my bad pronunciation streak with their name. I'm sorry. In the meantime, they also released a cool video about the envy hell known as the internet, with an interesting point I want to mention here. They had a theory that the English language malicious glee discourse often uses the German term Schadenfreude to maybe imply that English speakers don't need a word for such a feeling, because they, of course, would never practice the negatively evaluated but completely natural human behavior of laughing at someone who fell down 800 flights of stairs into the Porcupine Statue Memorial Park. This idea of distancing oneself from a strange foreign language and culture could also explain the stuff I will get to later in this video. Now, let's return to the main part of said video. And I am aware that many people, including most fiction writers, only care about a foreign country if they want to spend their holidays there, or if it does actively endanger or ignore their loved ones, or ignore the people/things that actively endanger their loved ones, of whom they maybe only get to hear every 3 years through a carrier pigeon sent into their general direction, because German internet is basically made up of one really flimsy string between 2 cans that costs more than 5 kiddie pools full of printer toner per month, and also like the historical crimes against humanity. And not to say that looking at modern day Germany, there are no positive qualities, but let's just say, in my opinion, it could be improved. I am not sure if this is relatable, but at least for me personally, I am kinda tired of those same stereotypes coming in like a big space hammer, squashing robots when I just want to consume some English language fictional media. Not to say that this is only an issue in English-speaking areas, but especially Hollywood has enough influence to reach at least 3 corporate space colonies, including the capitalistic nightmare hellmoon that is named video game development. And there, we completely ignore the real-life consequences of the English language being considered the only standard. By the intergalactic way, here I of course don't want to blame all native English speakers or imply that more than hopefully only a small minority make fun of accents or dialects, or that no non-native English speaker has ever made fun of accents themselves. There are probably even native English speakers with a less American or standard British accent/dialect that get made fun of in mean swamps of fictional media or even real life. Or they are in a country where English is not a common language. But moving on, you do a few sis and say something about the accuracy and punctuality and meaninglessness of human effort and their weird, scary German language and non-existent humor, and haha, there you have a joke for non-Germans about Germany. Certainly, some stereotypes have roots in reality, and while you have with regards to, for example, Germans, even some positive stereotypes, other people, especially from countries that are not majority white, or as wealthy, or who are part of marginalized groups, will probably have to hear a lot worse. Being a white middle-class German is probably the hyper-casual easy mode in the game of everybody who is not a white middle-class American. To come to the main point, Recognizing these tropes will force a love of comfortable familiarity out of some people, but it basically is a non-joke pretending to be a joke. These stereotypical portrayals not only generalize and harm real-life individuals from so many different ethnicities, cultures, and walks of life, but in regards to fictional media, if unquestioned, they are also, in my opinion, just plain boring and uncreative. What I wanted to say, when you're mocking Germans, which you should do in my opinion, because we are the molds of humanity. If molds were human-shaped, more bad for the environment, not cute, and pedantic enough to produce this video, make it more entertaining than that. This dude starred in a German movie with a scene where his character's genitalia gets bitten by a ferret. Absurdity of the fictional concept opens up the whole world of ferret puns you can't weasel out from. Ferret better in the future, honest trailers. Ferret better! Wasn't this about accents? At least with globalization, we start to see nowadays more and more interesting topical depictions of foreign countries. And now, after that semi-off-topic rant, to bring the spaceship to the station again? It would be really weird if the Outer Worlds relied on the old stereotype arts and crafts set. Of course, it's being made after 1950 by people that seem to care about interesting and boring characters is probably the main factor. Additionally, it would also be weird for a game set hundreds of years into the space future to fill its world with national stereotypes. As alluded to earlier, most countries will have been replaced by
It's not the best choice, it's Spacer's choice! Taste the freedom!
In Outer Worlds universe, people separate not by countries, but by which corporation they are enslaved by. I meant employed by. Unless it's Auntie because does existing with Auntie products still count as existing? Under Spacer's choice, you at least can exist in misery. Think about it. And while it is a bit stereotypical that Anton Crane is a scientist, this profession is more normalized in a science fiction galaxy full of new and unknown resources to exploit and raptidons to effectively integrate into capitalistic efforts. Sadly, it's not really clear who actually is the voice behind your 8th favorite hyper-capitalistic, opportunist scientist NPC. This character is not directly credited in the game itself, probably because almost every character besides your main protagonist, for freedom of insult, is a voice role. Even this advertising robot. But at least the surviving characters of the developers' tabletop games are honored for their dice roll sacrifices. The Outer Worlds wiki speculates that Anton is voiced by the British actor Desmond Askew. I am sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Whose name I did not find in the vast maze of such characters as the level 12 barbarian dragonborn ruthless toothless Donar. Anton Crane is also not noted on the Outer Worlds IMDb page, which only makes it clear that they also don't know which NPCs are really important. But let's now assume it is the British actor Desmond Askew of Thomas from Bioshock 2, USS Command from Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City and the Hills of Ice fame. In that case, wow! He really did an impressive job. This voice performance made me think that they just have picked up a really competent German English speaker at the next My Work is My Only Personality convention. Actually, I think that Askew as a British actor probably could give this performance even an extra layer of digital space realism. I don't know how English class was for generations of bored German-speaking students before and after me, especially with something like Brexit in mind. But at least in my school time was the British pronunciation / spelling for the first years the measure of all things English teachers did not bathe in red ink. Maybe Anton could be a representation of the potential better space German speaker of the future, who still has the Prunella the Poltergeist song taped to every thought, because this melody will only fall silent when the sun decimates this universe into meaningless dust particles. But thinking of pronunciation, Anton Crane also kinda reflected back to me the little things I am anxious about while recording this. My R's, T's, S and D's are probably weird. Being trapped in the belief that I should be afraid of falling into the stereotype, I often exchange a TH with a D that, at least to my ears, sounds closer to TH than T. But it also soothes a bit. Even if my pronunciation is off, I don't just immediately turn into Werner Herzog like I'm an aware 80-year-old documentarian. I don't have a problem with Werner Herzog, I swear. I don't want to be mean. His accent is just as nice as everybody else's, but I am not Werner Herzog, okay? I know, I shouldn't bother with the accent. I said so myself, just there. Just because of an accent, you don't magically turn into a sack full of uncultured old earth potatoes. An accent is neutral. It only matters that I'm understandable. I hopefully have included subtitles and not forgotten to publish them like someone else with their last video. So maybe viewers can vaguely follow my odd mouth sounds that more or less successfully pretend to be words. But the worry is still ingrained into my head, and you would need more than a laser scythe to cut it out. By the way, my opinion about this NPC performance will probably not be shared by all German speakers ever. Because if there is one thing unifying the ununifiable, it has to be the collective pastime of all German speakers and potential future discipline for the 2060 Olympics. Dragging another German's accent while they are trying to communicate in English. In the end, while chasing the sweet drops of escapism from that, it is sometimes just delightful to accidentally find a really tiny thing that for some odd reason just feels really relatable. Even if the small thing is a maybe somewhat German digital scientist and full-time Auntie Cleo worshipper who only cares about worker resources reducing diet toothpaste, and one employee who now partially resides like a stinking slacker in a raptidon stomach. That's what happens when you take Dino Space Science too far, kids. Unproductiveness. Why not every character in the Outer Worlds has some interesting accent or dialect, or even has a really unique voice? I hope some people will also find an NPC who sounds relatable to them and makes them feel less weird for a moment. A thing fictional worlds can be surprisingly good at in these trying times known as always. That was barely about the Outer Worlds. I'm sorry? I guess? Can happen. Is something? Why is everyone staring at me? Why do you all look so apologetic? What is happening? You know, we have hard times here in this office. You can't just talk about whatever you want. One video not fitting with our Cheryl theme underperformed. We uploaded it anyway. Maybe my one here will help us out of this little slump the YouTube algorithm put us in. Someone curse this channel. Don't tell me you actually believe in curses. I ban you to the Shadow Realm. Oh, that sounds kinda cool. With Shadow Realm, I mean our basement. Carry them away, clowns! What? You need a scapegoat! This is an office political ploy and some stupid seller! Even your punishments are boring! I know, actually curse you! I make my own channel and I will rake in the clicks! Okay, try it, you buffoon! But you are banned from video games! Just wait and see! I will laugh at you, you idiots! And we lost another one. How many clones are we anyway?